Do you ever go to make a recipe and it calls for some kind of fresh herb? For example, the one I'm making tonight calls for fresh rosemary, 2 teaspoons. But it only comes in packages of this. This assumes you don't grow your own, of course. So when you buy it, you of course buy a massive amount. You only need a tiny bit. Well, what do you do with the leftovers? Do you put them in the fridge and wait for them to go bad? Do you line up a series of recipes that are going to use them all? Or option number 3, which is what I do, is I will put these in the dehydrator and dry them out and grind them and save them just like every other herb. So it adds to your stockpile rather than becomes waste. So let's go ahead and go through the process of dehydrating this herb, grinding it, and just talk about in general how to preserve this. And then in a follow-up video, I've got a little hack on how I'm managing all of my spices. So as I mentioned last night, as I was getting ready to make my pork chops, I had to use a little bit of that fresh rosemary. Well, today, I have all of this left. So what am I going to do with it? Well, for me, the best answer is actually using my dehydrator. Now, I would have done this last night and continued that video from then, but I had jerky in there, so I couldn't process both of these. Now, the settings are a little bit different on this particular device. So the temperature is controlled, the fan, everything is controlled internally. You have 3 settings. You have a low, medium, and high. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set the setting on low because we don't want a lot of heat, but we do want a lot of airflow to help dry these out. But we don't want to cook them. So on high, when you're doing the meat, you want to cook the meat slowly, basically. And on this, you just really want to have air flowing over them to dry them. So I have the rosemary. I have my dehydrator all cleaned and ready. And now we're just going to set the setting over to low. Alright. And we're going to just, the freshly cleaned trays from last night, we're going to drop a couple of these on here. And we're just going to spread the rosemary out a little bit over the trays and just turn it on and let it go. It really is that simple. You'll have to monitor it a bit. And just when it's ready, it's ready. And after that, we'll show you how we're going to process the dried herbs. So as you can see, the herbs only required 1 tray to flesh out, but that's fine. So we now have this on, it's drying, and we'll just keep an eye on it over time. It'll take several hours. One extra perk we get from this is that it makes the house smell really nice in this little area here. Alright, so I had to turn the heat on this up to medium because it just wasn't drying. I had left it overnight on low. It just did not get dried. So I turned it up on medium, left it for a few hours, and it's gotten actually to where it's really perfect now. So what I'm going to do is, my next step is I'm going to take the rosemary and I'm going to pull the leaves off. And I have a spice grinder. We're going to put the leaves in the spice grinder and do a very coarse grind on that. And then I've got a tin that I keep my spices in. So we'll go over that process now. It smells really great. So I'm really pulling the leaves off and off of these big stems in the middle. There's no point in keeping those. I'm sure I could grind them up, but I really don't want those big old stems in there. So smells delicious. I had these from this batch that I just dried, and then I had some that I dried a little while ago. I'm going to add them to this as well, so we can go ahead and just grind all this up. Okay. So this is the Cuisinart Spice and Nut Grinder. So this is what we're going to be using now. I've got this cup here that has blades in it. We've got our rosemary in it. Put it right here on and turn it. And we've got this lid. We just push down on the lid. Look through the top, see how much it's grinding. And see how we don't want to stick our fingers in there. There's blades in there. Just keep that on. And we turn it over. Oops. We're going to unplug it first. Turn it over. Get our spices out. There's a few sticks in there. We can grab those out. But the rest is now ground rosemary. Right, so it does separate the sticks a little bit. So let's pull those out really quickly. So there were some other sticks. Okay, so there it is. Ground rosemary. Quite a bit. Now I keep my spices in these tins here. They're magnetic on the back, and they have a opening for pouring and also for shaking, and come open like this. Now when you buy these, the sets tend to be really loose on the top, so what I did was I took some cork tape and a little bit of cork tape on there, and it makes a nice, really nice seal. So this is for time. But here's my ground rosemary. We'll just add this to the mix here. Look at that. We now have a pretty well filled tin of ground rosemary. So instead of that going bad, we have dried spice. Much better for everybody involved. Alright, so that's it. That's how I take care of the fresh spices I get that we only use a little bit of. We preserve it as dried spice. We put it in our little tins and we keep it and we use it. And that's really great. If you have your own garden, you can do the same kind of thing and keep tins of your own dried spices as well. It's really a great means of having this stuff on hand either way. So that's what we do. There you have it. Come back for the next episode of this. We're going to show you the one last final hack for the spice management. We'll see you later.